Welcome to the Ask Fully Skinny podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Margot Grant Witz. Margot, welcome to the show. Please tell us more about yourself. What is your story?
I'm so happy to be here and thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm Margot Grant Witz, the third generation of Elizabeth Grant Skincare, lovingly known as a living infomercial. My grandma is Elizabeth. She's 103 years young, and she started the skincare company over 80 years ago in London, England during World War II, trying to fix her skin because she had bottom blast damage. And all she wanted to do, which I think is a universal truth, is look in the mirror, love what you see, and be able to feel confident to know that you can continue to do what you want to do, to be your independent self, to be your best self. And so she just went on a mission to fix her skin. And by accident, she started a skincare company.
Amazing story. So, um, I don't know much about skincare because I usually I know it's a huge business and I don't use many products because I'm not in so I don't have any problem with my skin since I'm taking really good care with my diet. I would like to know your stance. Of course, I understand most of the people today have let's say some kind of problem with their skin because we are constantly under air condition or we are exposed to the sun. What's your number one, or what do you think is the number one reason why we should take better care of our skin? And we know skin is probably our largest organ. So how should we take care of it, and what products would you recommend?
So I always say this: you have one skin. It's our
Mhm,
largest organ, like you mentioned, but you can't go to the grocery store and pick up a different one, you know?
mhm.
So you have to learn to love the skin you're in. And if you have the ability to do certain improvements to your skin that are in your control, do them. But you can't almost wake up overnight and say, well, tomorrow I want to look 20 years younger. Anything in life has to be about consistency and looking at the health of the position of why you're in. The challenge sort of becomes most women are made to be obsessed about their skin in the sense of always looking for what's wrong, always looking for why they don't fit, always looking for why they're not good enough, always being compared to somebody else. And in fact, most women sort of act as a crab in a bucket to another woman. Instead of saying, oh my goodness, look at her crown. I love what she has. Look how gorgeous she is. It's almost like we're made to have, well, why does she have that and I don't, you know? So women have this great sense of community, but also this a massive sense of external pressure that says if we're always told we're not good enough, we're not tall enough, we're not young enough, we're not skinny enough, we're not short enough, we're not blonde enough, we're not brunette enough, we're not smart enough, we're too smart. We're always being told why we don't fit. And so skincare is something that I think women, although they do love with that moment of being able to invest in that time with themselves, I look good, I feel good, I'm putting in that self care. I don't really think it's an organic journey to get there. I think it's a forced journey to get there.
Okay, I really like how you put it because everything what you told me so far looks exactly like a self-improvement journey. And
Yeah.
I see so many parallels between self-improvement and skincare. And we all know, as you said, there are a lot of societal pressures to look good and to have clean skin. Can you tell us a bit more about why it's important to have a clean skin? Because from let's say biology standpoint is that we so our body wants to get rid of the toxins through skin, and if
Yeah.
we let the body do it, then we are more healthy. Can we talk about the health part of healthy skin?
Of course. So the easiest way I can explain it is if you're not cleaning your skin, which I think is the most important, the number one step in a better, younger, healthier looking skin is a clean skin.
Mhm.
And there's no if, ands, or buts about it. The easiest way I can explain it is we do our laundry. We wash our clothes every day. We change our bed sheets every day. We hop in the shower or the bath and we wash our skin every day. And people don't really take that concept of why we're doing it and why it's the most important. The dirt, the debris, the stink, the oil, the guts, the dead skin, the buildup, the smog, the pollution, all the stuff that we don't see, you need your skin to breathe. And so all of our pores, those wonderful circular objects on our skin, they stretch to get oxygen. So when they're clogged or dirty or irritated, what happens? Either a pimple happens because they cannot breathe, or the pores stretch and we get these large pores to let our skin breathe. So then people go, oh, I have big pores and I have to like strip my skin. I have to go, it's probably acne, it's probably this, when really you just need a great cleanser. It's an ecosystem. Our skin is a living, breathing organism of good bacteria, of bad bacteria. And how the ecosystem works is individual to everybody on this planet. My skin is different than your skin. My skin is different than my mom's skin. It's different than my son's skin. Even though we have some sort of a thread that goes through that's similar, it's important to sit and understand A, what your skin type is, B, how your skin reacts to something, and see what your goals are for your skin. You never have to use skincare if you don't want to. It should never be a pressurized thing. But being able to have that confidence and being able to love what you see is an important journey. I think there's something that's an interesting standpoint that sort of hits around 35 to 55. You look at your life and you go, am I where I want to be in this world? Am I where I am, where I thought I would be at 35, at 45, at 55? Do I look the part? Is my bank account the part? And that is where we start seeing big changes in people. It's like this natural midlife crisis, like a natural equilibrium that pushes someone to say, I need to improve X. Whatever that X is usually something external. What do I look like? Do I need to change my clothes? Do I want to like look a little part because I'm either wearing something that makes me look in my 20s and I shouldn't, or maybe I'm dressing too old, but we start to take stock of our life at the age of 35. And we start to notice our friends, our family, our routines, our habits, our job, and where do you want to be for the next chapter of your life? Because every year is a chapter, every year is a level, but it's this midlife that we start going, am I as happy as I am? Do I have everything I've wanted to achieve? And where do I want to go?
Okay, I have a question. You have really um, told us most of it already, but I would like your point of view. Is it true that when we were young, we don't we don't tend to take care enough of our skin, and then when we get in the midlife, we see that we have somehow neglected our skin, and that it might be time that we should start it, or we should start acting differently and start, as you said, cleansing and all these processes. Because else we're gonna look old in 5 6 years. Is that maybe the reason?
I would say yes. And what's funny is there are two big chunks of time that we're really like, I'm obsessed with taking care of my skin. Adolescence, where we start
Mhm.
seeing maybe acneic skin, problematic skin, where we are sort of like in high school or junior high and wanting to bat an eye to the crush across the hallway, and you want to look that beautiful part. Plus, with social media today, with airbrushing and everything and filtering, it's a whole different level of pressure. And then, yes, in our 30s, we start saying, oh my goodness, where does this line and wrinkle? When did this happen? I didn't notice this, but there's a chunk in the center that no one pays attention to. 20 to 30. That's where there are no responsibilities, no consequences of our actions, whatever it is. That is the golden time that as humans, as individuals, we're like, we are here on earth. Watch us. We can do everything and anything that we want, and nothing bad happens, right? And because it's not an instant, for example, you go get a tan or you lie in the sun, you might get a sunburn, but what's the worst that can happen? You don't ever see the consequence of that action until your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. You don't see the consequence of too many late nights. You don't see the consequence of I'm not drinking enough water. You don't see the consequence of I'm not eating correctly, right? I remember when I was in university, I would barely sleep. I would somehow survive on a copious amount of caffeinated beverages, whether it's coffee or Red Bull. I would not eat well. I would not study. I would not sleep, but somehow I looked amazing. And so there's this funny thing that you never think about getting old, but that old concept, you're not sitting in your 20s going, well, one day I'm going to be in my 90s. One day I'm going to be in my 70s. Old is 10 years older than you are right now. And that's people's mindsets. Well, when I get older, it's usually 10 years. So
Mhm.
people don't really think of, are there consequences to my choices in 15 and 20 and 30?
Amazing. I would like to ask you, how important is the food? I understand the skincare is the most important for the skin, obviously. But how important is the food, and how important is the stress?
Super important. So you can do anything topically. Topically can look great, but if you're not going to the root of what is causing the issue, you're always going to be chasing the solution. And so it is an equilibrium to that balance of your skin, of your body, of your soul. And I know that sounds really funny to bring the soul conversation into when you're like, but Margot, you're talking about skincare, but there's not. When you have external stress, when you have internal stress, there is clinical research data that it progressively ages your skin's nucleus cells one by one. So it rapidly puts it on fast forward to, because the stress, it's that fight or flight mentality. It is these little balances of that energy inside of you that does make a difference. So if you're putting on creams, if you're getting injections, if you're doing lasers, amazing. But if you're not eating a great diet, which is primarily not processed foods, and don't get me wrong here, folks, on the other side, I do love a processed food once in a while. I am not the most perfect ecosystem of a temple myself internally, but I do try to make better choices with more fruits, more vegetables, less processed, more protein, because your body is able to just flow with it, break it down very easily. The cells get the nucleus of what it needs, and you're not getting too many processed sugars. And actually, processed sugars can lead to something called glycation to your skin, which is almost like a collapse of the collagen in your skin. So if you look at an orange peel, that's the glycation to your skin. So those very open pores that you can see with a collapse. So I think food, water, rest, and stress are as important internally as whatever your choices you're making externally. Because once they sort of coexist and you understand your triggers, everything sort of falls into place. I always say when you stop fighting your body stops fighting you.
Amazing. I would like to talk about makeup a bit. So
Sure,
we are we are obsessed with looking perfect every day,
sure
and
are.
a lot of times this means makeup, especially for women.
Yeah.
How does makeup make skincare more complex? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Of course, makeup is camouflage and it's terrible for your skin. It creates almost like a saran wrap on your skin that doesn't allow it to breathe. So, makeup, once upon a time, when you look at the history of makeup, it was like, I'm going to burn this Kajol pen, which was a very specific type of henna ink, or ash, or I got some lippy from a berry that I crushed. Very different natural ways to give pigment to your skin. Now it's all chemicals, and the chemicals are made to last. I mean, there's a joke. Mascara will survive the apocalypse. You can wash your face all day, every day, and you can be like, I am amazing. My skin is clear. I did a double wash. And the next morning, you wake up with dark circles because the mascara somehow is still there that has beaten soap and oil and makeup and breakup, and it doesn't really make sense in that way. My grandmother was a makeup artist at Elstree Studios in London, England, and that's how she started her career. We understand the complexities and the simpleness of what makeup's job is to do. Makeup's job is there to enhance, highlight, and cover. And so many people use it to hide. That is the bigger conversation because at the end of the day, when you wash your skin, you need to look in the mirror and love what you see. We are, as individuals, our own worst enemies. We'll look in the mirror and go, oh my goodness, when did that happen? When did I get those lines and wrinkles? When did my wrinkle and when did my cheek go to my jowl? And wait, I have jowls? Or how did everything break down? Why do I look this way? Versus look in the mirror and being, I look really good today. I look amazing. I'm so grateful that I have my skin. I'm so grateful that I'm able to walk. I'm so grateful that I'm able to do the concepts that I want to do in life. And that's something we all take for granted because it's a privilege and an honor to be able to get out of bed. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to walk. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to stand outside and take a deep breath of fresh air. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to say, I'm not feeling that well and I can change certain things about it. And why I say that is there's so many people who don't get that privilege or honor. There are people who can't walk. There are people who can't get out of bed. There are people who are sick. There are people who aren't here on this planet anymore physically because they didn't get to age. And so aging really is a blessing. It's not something that everyone is afforded. So when you're sitting there and you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, well, I have to cover. I'm not pretty enough. Maybe this mascara will fix. Maybe this foundation will fix. Maybe this one will make me look good. And even now in makeup, oh gosh, like there's makeup for millennials, there's makeup for zillennials, there's makeup for women over the age of 50. And you're sitting there going, why is there always something? If we all have one skin, why isn't there a makeup that's for all skin? Why isn't foundation for all skin? So if you're looking in the mirror and you're saying something that you don't love about yourself, I always encourage someone to say, well, what's something that you're grateful for? And what's something that you can look in the mirror and say, I'm really grateful that I have this to be back at me. I'm really grateful that I'm able to complain about the aging. I'm really grateful that in today's world, there are hundreds of thousands of solutions to help fix what's wrong with me.
Okay, before we finish, I would like to have one more opinion
Yeah,
because you're an expert, and uh, most of our listeners are female entrepreneurs in their midlife, and they don't have 4 hours in the morning to get their makeup done. And
great.
um, could you talk about these filters and expectations?
Yeah,
Because we expect so much of ourselves. It's much easier for us men, but
it is
for
much easier for you
yeah,
gentlemen for a lot of reasons.
but
but the,
for female, it's um, in my practice as a coach, I see the completely unreasonable expectations of themselves because they're not able to distinguish what was the filter and why is an Instagram photo perfect because there
and
was
like
a
the
photo.
Photoshop of every
Yeah,
magazine, of every advertisement, or even today with AI having those aspects. So when you look at a advertisement for mascara, it says in small print, but they're wearing false eyelashes with the mascara. I think, is it easier for men? Yeah. Are women told that they're never there to fit? Yeah. Are women over the age of 40 having this expectation from the world around them that they should disappear and quiet down? Yeah. But there's also a different aspect because it's not just the outside noise that is telling women why they don't fit or why they have to be in this box or why they don't look in the part. There's also this mental load that's quite invisible for people around you, especially if you're in a family. If you're a mom, it is hard. It is hard to balance that career, what you look like, what kind of partner you are, what kind of mom you're going to be while cooking. And maybe you're cleaning. Maybe you have someone who helps you clean. Or did you make the lunch? Or did he do his homework? Did you pack the bag enough quickly for the child? And then, by the way, I have this project happening too at work, and I have to show up and I have to be able to be my best self. And there's this conversation of that cup that women pour from. And you can't pour from an empty cup. So then the conversation goes, well, instead of a cup, why not a pitcher? Why not understand that you're the pitcher and there are different cups you're going to pour into? And not all of those cups are going to get the same level of attention that you need. So the pressure that women have, especially as entrepreneurs, is not just coming from a place of external, but it's the noise of internal. And to put in perspective, when my grandmother started her company in the 40s, she wasn't allowed to own her company. My grandfather owned her company and bankrupted her twice. In the 90s, when my mom, who's my grandmother's daughter-in-law, wanted to relaunch Elizabeth Grant in 1998, 27 banks told her, no, thank you. We don't believe in women in business. And only one bank gave my mom a $5,000 loan. So as much as I would love to say it's going to get easier for women, maybe not in this generation. But what's so interesting is when you see Generation Z, these kids, they walk around with pimple patches, and which means these like stickers on their face, bright colors of like, here's a blue star, or here's a Hello Kitty. And they're like, yeah, I have a pimple. And you're like, what's that freedom like? What is that ability to say, look at my flaw and not really be judged and made fun of it for? And so today, the only thing I can say is in whatever generation or age you are in now, it's so much better than generations that came before us. But that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect for your lifetime right now. And the strides that we're doing for the ability to show vulnerability, truth, honesty, especially in today's world of AI, the receiver on the other side is now more curious. They're now more questioning. Or am I seeing, is what I'm seeing good? Is it real? Is it honest? Is it fair? Is it the full scope of the story? So there's something interesting of a dynamic that happens, that technology is changing, the world is changing, and the consumer is being allowed to have a question of, does this suit me? And I think that there's such a unique privilege and freedom that no one's been able to, like my mother's generation never had.
Amazing. So how should we get an accountability partner or whoever we need to tell us what's realistic for our age? Because all the models, even if they're like 50 now, they look 20. And all this because of Photoshop and everything. So what's realistic? How do we get a realistic picture of what we should compare to ourselves to? What's your advice?
I think such a good question. And I think the realistic picture is helping to change your first narrative.
Mhm.
So your narrative inside your head is the first thing you think of when you look at yourself, positive or negative. Because if it's positive, if it's I love what I see, if it's I look really good today, or like, wow, you have a great hair day, or like you look really cute in those jeans, right? That's a realistic point of what you look like. The world universally has something called BDD, body dysmorphic disorder, which means we don't actually see what we look like in the mirror. And with photos, with everything, it's always altered. How is it enhanced? How can I improve? How can I get it to be stopped and someone look at me? How is someone going to tell me I'm pretty? You know? So I think if you look in the mirror and you can start your own conversation with yourself, your own cheerleader, that's the best place. How does your partner feel about you? How do you feel about you? How do your friends feel about you? And I know that's so funny because you could be looking at your friend being like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous. She's so skinny. She's so tall. She's so this. I wish I looked like her. Right. And then that friend 9 times out of 10 is looking at you going, God, I wish I looked like her. I wish I had what she had. And I think being more honest with our vulnerability, with our concerns, with our insecurities, opens up the space for someone to say, me too, you know?
Amazing. Thank you for all these insights. And before we finish, please let us know where can our listeners and viewers get in touch with you.
Of course. So for Elizabeth Grant Skincare, all things skincare from 3 generations of women who've been aging on your side for 80 years and counting, who make, manufacture, and formulate every single product in house. It's at EG Skincare on any form of social media or elizabethgrant.com. And for myself, if you ever just want another feather in your cap or feel better about your day or a little bit of confidence to make you change your perspective, I'm at Margot Grant Witz on Instagram and all forms of social.
Margot, thank you. Thank you very much for all these insights. And thank you for being my guest tonight.
Thank you so much, Peter. I really enjoyed it. And honestly, everyone, keep your head up because you're beautiful today, tomorrow, in every shape and way.